Good morning everyone and welcome to this video. Today I am standing up and I really had sleep paralysis this morning, so I decided to stand up today. But today I wanted to talk about a little short film I made called Blink of an Eye. I made it at 17, halfway there, 17 and 6 months I guess, because I'm about to turn 18. It won 2 awards at the Cross Asia Youth Film Festival, one for Best Film age category 16 to 18 and one for best experimental film, so that's great. I didn't really apply to that many festivals because it usually costs money and I'm not willing to spend money on festivals, but that was awesome because I didn't spend any money but I got some money, so that was great. So this film is actually an abstract like voiceover film essay, and it's about this guy, my dad, or not my dad, it's about this man who is basically diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he goes back to the countryside. It's about this man who goes back to the countryside to reflect over his time at life and on the earth in his life. And then in the end, he actually just dies. And he dies across this beautiful like snow field. I was planning on filming there, but again, it's raining, so I have to film here with this beautiful background instead. You can look at the painting, it's almost the same thing. Okay, so how I made this film. First, of course, it started with actually writing it, which is something a lot of writers struggle with doing, which is writing. Since it's a film essay, I feel like it's a genre that every filmmaker should at least tackle once in their life because it's so much fun. I recommend it for any filmmaker who lacks actors or just loves to write, because you don't need actors. You just film a bunch of B-roll that relates to what you're talking about in the film essay. You just write it whenever you want. It's a fun thing to write. It's a way to reflect on your own philosophy, values, morals, beliefs, and all that. It's so simple. You just gotta write something you're passionate about and then throw a bunch of B-roll over it. I mean, sometimes it can be very abstract with a bunch of cool B-roll of a bunch of like a flower dying or something. I don't know. But for me, it was kind of like a narrative. I wanted to make it a more narrative film essay where he kind of reflects over his time in life and then he dies at the end, which is kind of the climax, I guess. So I made the B-roll actually match that. But to actually get down to writing a film essay, all you really have to do to do that is to read a lot, because to read a lot, you know a lot more and you actually pick up vocabulary and you get better at writing yourself, which is something, a lot of writers don't do today because people don't read books a lot of the time, but you need to read books if you want to write. And another thing is to watch film essays. A lot of directors actually have film essays because it's such a fun medium to kind of express what you're thinking about, not through like decoding plot and stuff like that, but instead it's just through talking, a voiceover with some dramatic music and stuff like that. I actually have a few film essays coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. But as for actually writing, all you have to do is just write, and a lot of the time it's really hard for writers to do that, but you just have to sit down, write how you feel, write a stream of consciousness. Nowadays it feels like the whole thing with a blank page feeling so threatening and stuff, but you have a computer. No one's going to see that first draft. You write it over and over again. First draft's going to look nothing like your final draft. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's the same because you aren't bothered to make an actual script. But I did make first draft and then I edited it, and I think that's what you should do too. You just gotta let go of that fear because nothing is final, and you just gotta keep writing. Don't stop until you're done. And then when you are done, you at least have something there that you can edit on. You actually have something more than what you did before. And that's such a empowering thing. And I think as a writer, you just gotta get started. That's the one thing that is important with writing. After that, you can edit how much as you want, but if you don't have anything to edit, it's not good, it's not bad, it's nothing. So one more thing that I learned is the importance of pauses. And this is actually something I learned from my film teacher. Basically, the first draft of this film, if you guys are interested, I could consider uploading the first draft because it's kind of weird, but it doesn't really work. It's basically just I had a lot of talking in the voiceover, right? But I didn't leave pauses, and it made me realize the importance of pauses because that's the entire thing that the film was missing. I didn't have moments where he said something and it left the audience, and then I just left the audience for a moment in the pause to reflect and think about what was just said. It provides such good emphasis. And that's also something that I think anyone can apply in dialogue and stuff. Pauses say just as much as words, and it allows the audience to take in what's happening and take a breather, and it makes the film so much more impactful. So just adding those pauses in, I think really did something to the film, made it a lot more powerful and strong, and just as an art piece as well, because film is art. Add pauses into your films, add pauses into dialogue. They do so much. So next I wanted to talk about actors, because that is something that is really a struggle for student filmmakers, because oftentimes I know a lot of other people use this as an excuse. Oh, I can't film, I don't have any actors, I need actors, right? But to make a short film, you don't need good actors, you just need actors. You just need people to be doing the things you're telling them to. It's a good practice for writing, direction, cinematography, because you're directing people who don't know what they're doing. It's a lot of fun too. and you always have people around you who will be interested in wanting to be in your film. And that goes down to like my parents. They're always down to be in my films, even if they're not getting paid, and even if they're not, winning any Oscars. They do the job. They're pretty good. Like, I know if you don't have as good of an actor as my dad, you still have well, you'll probably still have someone who will step in and be an actor. Even if they're not amazing, they're still doing the things you want, and it's practice. Your films don't have to be amazing. You just have to make films to learn, because I believe in practical learning. Theory is good alongside practical learning. If you're just learning theory and you want to be a filmmaker, you're not really doing the actual hands-on learning that I think is so important and leads it to more development than reading theory and stuff, because that's something anyone can do. Not everyone has the courage to actually make films. Just don't use actors as an excuse to not making films, because you'll always have people there. If it's your family or your friends, it's a lot of fun shooting, and you end up laughing a lot, and it's just loads of fun. So why shouldn't you do it? Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is music, because music is, if you're like me and you love music, music is a big part of your films. And unfortunately, I did use 2 copyrighted songs in that film, so I couldn't really apply to many film festivals. But it's okay. What I recommend for you is to do kind of what I did. I mean, I didn't really do the proper thing. You're supposed to use public domain classical music. I used one from a soundtrack. But still, classical music that's public domain is your best resource, instead of all this royalty-free crap that, is really, it feels so corporate, right? If you listen to classical music, there are beautiful, moving, powerful, incredible, just emotional pieces of art that you can put in your film, even though they've been used like 4 billion times, right? It still adds something. It's better than using some corporate royalty-free music, and I think it adds another dimension. And classical music is, I think it's my favorite, or besides like jazz, and I love a lot of music, but it's a great, like, it adds a lot to the film without taking away anything from the film with that sometimes lyrics and stuff do. Okay, so now I just thought it'd be a bit fun to talk about what filming was actually like. So, dead of winter, Sweden, countryside, bunch of snow, right? -20 degrees, light for a few hours a day. It's not all that fun to film because it's really dark and cold, and I didn't want to go outside. But sometimes you just gotta, we have an expression in Swedish, beat the hoop, you just gotta bite together. Don't know if that applies, but you just gotta do it, you just gotta actually go out and film. No excuses. So once the script was done, me and my dad, while we still had a few hours of daylight, shot a little bit inside, and then we ran outside, shot outside. I mean, unfortunately, he's bald. That's not unfortunate. Unfortunately, he's bald and had to lay in the snow, and that has happened twice in my films, because apparently that's just something I like to do in my films. But when he walks out and dies on the field, he has to lay in the snow. That is great commitment for my dad, and so it's not as bad for me as the director. But it's you have to be patient with film. You can't just rush it. Even though we were freezing, him more than I, but we were really cold. It's like -20 and it's snowing and it's winter and it's dark. But you gotta be patient. You gotta take your time to get that best shot. I know I talk about this in other cinematography videos I've done, but just take your time. It's so worth it. It makes a lot of shots way more beautiful. But that was just a lot of fun filming in the freezing cold, and we did it. And I'm still proud of this film, even though it's like at the height of my existentialism and absurdism phase. Still in it, by the way, so don't say anything about that. I mean, I love challenging my philosophies and stuff, but I'm proud of that film. And the one thing that I wish I had done more is, wait a second. The actual improvements for this video are actually going to be in a different video, so sorry about that. But I am making a second video about what I could have done better. Also, I know I use such clickbaity and like arrogant titles and thumbnails, but like apparently that's kind of what you have to do on YouTube, which kind of sucks. But it's like anything in capitalism. Not going to go down that road, but do that too many times a day. But I'm sorry about that. It's kind of what you have to do to get views and stuff, and it's good for the channel. But just try to read through it and look at what's actually here, not just thumbnails and the titles, because they are really arrogant. And I know nothing. I'm a 17-year-old filmmaker. I know nothing, but I know a little bit. I know nothing, but I do like to teach what I have learned from my own films, and maybe it'll help you guys, and it'll definitely help me reflecting on what I've done wrong and what I've done well, because both of those are very important. So this is actually going to be a series where I'm making like 2 videos for each one of my award-winning films, one at 15, 16, and 17. This is the 17 one. Don't know why I started in this order, just it feels more fresh in my mind. But this is going to be a series, so link in the playlist below and watch the actual film that I'm talking about, because that's kind of important if you need to know what I'm saying. Should have maybe said that at the beginning of the video. And I'm also talking about what went wrong. I'm also talking about what went wrong in these films. So, link in description. Hope you have fun. See you later. Goodbye.